guys, Mr. Mitchell here. Today we're going to talk about the Silk Road and its importance on history. The Silk Road was an ancient network of trade routes formerly established during the Han Dynasty of China, which linked the regions of the ancient world in commerce between 130 BCE and 1453 CE. As the Silk Road was not a single thoroughfare from east to west, the term Silk Routes has become increasingly favored by historians, though Silk Road is the more common and recognized name. The European explorer Marco Polo traveled on these routes and described them in depth in his famous work, but he is not credited with naming them. Both terms of this network of roads were coined by the German geographer and traveler Ferdinand von Richthofen in 1877 CE, who designated them the Silk Road or Silk Routes. Polo, and later von Richthofen, make mention of these goods which were transported back and forth on the Silk Road. While many different kinds of merchandise traveled along the Silk Road, the name comes from the popularity of Chinese silk, with the West, especially with Rome. The Silk Road routes stretched from China through India, Asia Minor, up throughout Mesopotamia, to Egypt, the African continent, Greece, Rome, and Britain. The northern Mesopotamian region, present-day Iran, became China's closest partner in trade, as part of the Parthian Empire, initiating important cultural exchanges. Paper, which had been invented by the Chinese during the Han Dynasty, and gunpowder, also a Chinese invention, had a much greater impact on culture than did silk. The rich spices of the East also contributed more than the fashion which grew up from the silk industry. Even so, by the time of the Roman Emperor Augustus, trade between China and the West was firmly established, and silk was the most sought-after commodity in Egypt, Greece, and especially in Rome. The network was used regularly from 130 BCE, when the Han officially opened trade with the West, to 1453 CE, when the Ottoman Empire boycotted trade with the West and closed the routes. By this time, Europeans had become used to the goods from the East, and when the Silk Road closed, merchants needed to find new trade routes to meet the demand for these goods. The closure of the Silk Road initiated the Age of Discovery from 1453 to 1660 CE, which would be defined by European explorers taking to the sea and charting new water routes to replace overland trade. The Age of Discovery would impact cultures around the world as European ships claimed some lands in the name of their god and country, and influenced others by introducing Western culture and religion. And at the same time, these other nations influenced European culture. The Silk Road, from its opening to its closure, had so great an impact on the development of the world civilization that it is difficult to imagine the modern world without it. The greatest value of the Silk Road was the exchange of culture. Art, religion, philosophy, technology, language, science, architecture, and every other element of civilization was exchanged along these routes, carried with the commercial goods and merchants traded from country to country. Along this network, disease traveled also, as evidenced by the spread of the bubonic plague of 542 CE, which is thought to have arrived in Constantinople by way of the Silk Road, and which decimated the Byzantine Empire. The closing of the Silk Road forced merchants to take to the sea to ply their trade, thus initiating the Age of Discovery, which led to worldwide interaction and the beginnings of a global community. In its time, the Silk Road served to broaden people's understanding of the world they lived in. Its closure would propel Europeans across the ocean to explore and eventually conquer the so-called New World of the Americas. In this way, the Silk Road can be said to have established the groundwork for the development of the modern world.